I'm Wild Humphrey, and they call me the Fact Master, because I'll tell you all the things you never knew you didn't know. And I'm faster than Google. Now, out of all the kings of England, people have their favourites, but what I'm going to talk to you about is Edward the First. Edward the First was born on the 17th of June 1239, and his father was Henry III, King Henry III. And while Edward was growing up, he had to sit back and watch as events unfolded in front of him that he had no control over. He saw a guy named Simon de Montfort marry his older sister and became the son-in-law of Henry III and started to dominate Henry the way he dominated other people. And Edward watched this but couldn't do anything about it, but swore that one day he would. Now this de Montfort guy took Henry for all he was worth. He used the king's name in vain for anything he could, so much so that the two fell out big time. The king banished de Montfort off to France, and Edward was getting a bit older and thinking, I'm going to get my chance, it's going to come soon, but he had to wait and wait and watch. His father fell out with his own barons, with the noblemen. He was just not a good king, and Edward was seething inside but couldn't do anything. Eventually we got to 1264, and things and tensions were so bad between his father Henry III and this Simon de Montfort guy that they went to battle at the Battle of Lewes, which took place on the 14th of May that year. And at this battle, Edward fought on the side of his father, of course, but the king lost the battle. De Montfort was victorious. He had real warriors on his side who he put together. So he grabbed the king, threw him in the Tower of London. He got his son Edward and sent him off to the other side of the country under armed guard. So Edward was again, he was worse off than he'd ever been. So while he was under guard, his father was locked in the Tower of London, and Simon de Montfort was running the country on behalf of the king, but doing exactly what he wanted, nothing to do with what the king may ever have wished for. So Edward had to bide his time. He knew if he was trying to make any escape, he'd be killed, because these guards were de Montfort's men. So that's it. But he was intelligent, Edward, very intelligent. What he did, he thought, I'll just start to get on with him. He had a personality, he had all he needed, he was well educated, intelligent guy himself. So gradually he got on with all these guards, and they started to trust him more and more. And one day, after they'd all been out playing games, one of the games was who's got the fastest horse. And the guards used to play this, and Edward would never get on the fastest horse, but one day he did. He found himself on the fastest horse, so what does he do? Runs and kept galloping away, never to be caught. He knew he had the fastest horse, he knew he could run the furthest, and he knew that lot couldn't catch him, so he got away. And what he did, he raised an army himself. He was going to sort de Montfort out once and for all. And all this built up anger that he'd had for years and years since a child was ready to be unleashed, and the victim was going to be de Montfort. And sure enough, him and his men met de Montfort and his men at the Battle of Evesham in 1265 on the 4th of August. Well, de Montfort was in for a shock. Although the battle was raging, what Edward had done, he sent a group of about 12 men onto the battlefield, and their sole aim was to murder de Montfort and his son. And not in any nice way either. Firstly, they found his son, killed him. No time wasted. He was dead. So then they were searching around the battlefield. They'd seen de Montfort. They found him. Well, de Montfort had no chance. But Edward had given these guys strict orders what they were to do. And they did it. They got de Montfort. They hacked him to death. Then he was cut into pieces, and all manner of terrible things done to his body. After which his head was stuck on a spike at the Tower of London. And Edward had won the day. But during this battle, his father had been taken into the battle by de Montfort, dressed as one of de Montfort's men, and had to shout, I'm your king, don't kill me. And they realised who he was and let him off. Well, the king was all made up because his son had saved the day and freed him from de Montfort. But Edward had other ideas. When he got hold of his father, he took him back to London and chucked him right back in the Tower of London and said, you're staying there because you can't run the country on your own. So we ride then on behalf of his father, Henry III. Now, Henry III reigned for over 50 years, but for most of that time he was never in control of anything, and now his son was managing him. This went on till 1272, when Edward was actually away on one of his crusades, and he got news while he was away that his father had died on the 16th of November that year. This of course made Edward King of England, but he wasn't in such a big hurry to get back because he wanted to finish what he was doing himself. Eventually though, we arrived back in England and he thought, right, things are going to change. The king is going to be the king, and whatever the king says will go, and anybody puts a foot out of place will be charged with a new crime. And this new crime he introduced was treason. And the only answer to treason, if you were found guilty, was death. Nothing else. So he became a very powerful king as Edward I. He was also quite tall as king. He was 6'2", Edward I. He's not England's tallest king, but he's up there. And what he'd done, he decided that he would marry a young woman named Eleanor of Castile. And he married her on the 1st of November 1254, well before the Evesham battle. But these two, it wasn't just a marriage of convenience like many of them. They actually did love each other. Wherever he went, she went. They never kept each other apart for any period of time. And so this was a real, true romance. But in 1290, Edward, he thought, right, what else can I do? Because he made lots of things happen, Edward. He built castles in Wales, 8 of them actually. Harlech, Conway, Beaumaris, and famously Carnarvon, where he had his son crowned the first English Prince of Wales. But as it was in 1290, his big decision he made was to expel all Jews from England. The Jewish population of England were expelled on the 18th of July 1290, and he's the only king to have done that. Now, they've been expelled from lots of countries, the Jewish people, and God knows why. And England are one of those countries who have done it, and it was Edward I who signed the expulsion order, and they were gone. Now, this was frowned upon, shall we say, and it was said to Edward something bad's gonna happen for you doing that. But he didn't care, he was the king and that was that. But what happened? Same year, 28th of November, his wife, we loved dearly, they were out one day with a party with them. She was taken ill, quite suddenly, and she died on the 28th of November. And Edward was devastated. They were miles from London. And he was, it's like the other side of Lincoln they were. He didn't know what to do. He thought, I need to do something in memory of my wife that's going to be everlasting. So what he came up with was something called the Eleanor Crosses. And from where she died to when they got back into London, wherever they stopped for the stay overnight, he had a cross, a really fancy cross. I mean, we're not talking just a cross here, we're talking a cross designed for a king, for his queen. So, you know. And he had 12 of these put up around the country on the way back. There's one in Dunstable, and one in a place called Charing. But Charing then was just a little town, and today Charing's gone, but what's in its place is Charing Cross, the famous train station. If you ever go there, get off the train, come outside, you will see an Eleanor Cross, and it's a beauty. And quite a few of these 12 crosses have gone or replaced with replicas now, because, you know, we're talking 1290, and there we are in the 21st century. But still in all, he created these. He wanted them to be there forever and be memorable, and that's what's happened. So his wife got the send-off that he wanted her to have, although earlier than anyone thought it would be. Now Edward, also, he fell out with the Welsh, he fell out with the Scots, and he's known as Hammer of the Scots, Edward I, because he was always doing battle with the Scots. He got William Wallace in 1305, and on the 23rd of August had him hung, drawn and quartered in Smithfield in London. The Scots didn't like him one bit. During what's called the Scottish Wars of Independence, Edward was always fighting them. But he never actually defeated Scotland. He'd win the battles, but he never actually defeated them. And you know, there's castles in Wales. He wanted Scotland. He was king of England. He lost his wife, and Edward lived until the 7th of the 7th, 1307. And between him and his father, they spanned 100 years, because his father had been born on the 1st of October, 1207. And Edward I died on the 7th of the 7th, 1307. So this king in his lifetime did more than most, but as I say, is often overlooked. And consider, he's born watching his father being dominated. He's captured and locked up. He escaped by getting on the fastest horse and conning his guards. He married the woman he loved. He defeated and murdered the guy who'd been held in his own father for ransom. In the Tower of London. He locks his own father up. He falls out with Scotland. He builds castles in Wales. His wife dies when he just can't believe it. He has William Wallace executed. And finally, he dies himself. Quite a legacy did he leave. And that is a fact. Listen, thanks for tuning in. I made up you watching this because it makes me feel great if you do. Please subscribe to my channel. Because everything I tell you is from up here. I'm faster than Google, and that is a fact. I'll see you soon.